who I am. I'm making a new plan, rearranging my life, and I won't look back ever again.
Hey everybody. Yeah, I have a cat. Well, welcome to Kevin Reviews. I have Aria here. Unfortunately, I can't really. Let's see. Can we get to see her face? There she is. Kind of. She's very shy and timid. This is her first. I think this is her first time being on screen here. She's never really often liked to you know be on screen. I can't, and holding her is kind of always a hassle because she's often very scared. I don't know what her life was like when I adopted her, but she's very timid. She's always been very timid, but she's very affectionate as well. So, but yeah, that's Aria. Sometimes I call her Toothless because she doesn't have any teeth anymore. Um, but she gets by with the food that I give her. So yeah. Um, yeah, apologies. Yeah, she really likes it. I'm sorry. Come on, Aria. There we go. Sorry, she probably shook the tripod a little bit. So but yeah. Sorry, I felt like I got Aria on me, and she hasn't shown up on any of the videos, unlike except for Tally and Dottie have been. And even before Bart, which by the way, Bart has not returned. I doubt he'll ever return. So I miss him still. I miss him enough. But yeah. But in any case, um, but thank you again. Welcome to Kevin Reviews, and thank you again for voting for on the poll. There was Brightburn, Paul, and Wicked, and finally Freedom Riders, which majority have voted for. 87 to be exact, which is high above than what I expected in terms of subscriber count. So either I may have put it out in public or something else entirely. But um, it's it's still amazing how, because I honestly did not expect Freedom Riders to do this, to be overwhelmingly voted for. I did not expect it, because I honestly expected maybe Wicked to be the one to see, because people were telling me how great that one is. Um, but in any case, this is by Paramount Pictures and MTV Films. This is directed by Richard LaGravenese. Gravenese. I'm probably butcher that. This is also written by him, and also written by the Freedom Riders themselves, or uh, the Freedom Riders, and they had a book called The Freedom Riders Diary, and this is also supported by Erin Gruwell, who is the teacher of the Freedom Riders. The cast includes Hilary Swank as Erin Gruwell, Imelda Stauton. Imelda Stauton played Dolores Umbridge in the Harry Potter films, which I hear. I didn't see any of the Harry Potter films except up to Goblet of Fire, but I never finished it. Um, but I hear her character is really an easy character to hate, and that's why people love to hate her. We also have Patrick Dempsey, April Hernandez Castillo, and just Mario, who plays one of the students, Andre Bryant. So I have seen this before in theaters once, and then I haven't seen it again. Haven't seen this again till maybe later in the late 2010s or 2000, or during the pandemic. Um, I remember liking this film fine. It was really good, but it didn't really stick with me. It was kind of like one and done type thing. But I have seen this like on different streaming platforms, often being said it's free for everybody. So yeah, it apparently resonates with people, and especially with the poll that I put out. 87 out of the 25 subscribers have voted for, well, not all of them, but you know what I mean. That a majority have voted for Freedom Riders as as a film to review. So I had to give it a shot and, review this, not a shot, but I had to review this, try to rewatch this and review this again. Now, keep in mind, I have reviewed a movie not similar to Freedom Riders called Take the Lead, where, you know, Antonio Banderas plays a teacher. I forget his name all of a sudden, but he teaches a class of at-risk students dancing to help them show respect and to, for others and hopefully get better um, teachers. And frankly, the thing is with that particular film and this one is that I have seen many films involving inspirational teacher coach type dramas. They are very good. There are so many though, and it's that I even acknowledge it can be formulaic. Yes, though I am a sucker for kind of those. Not all the time, but I do like these kind of stories. Whether it's formulaic or not, if it's a formula, it works regardless. So regardless, it just has to depend on how well the characters, the story, it it just does all together. How that makes it a worthwhile watch. So that's what I'm thinking. I hope I'm saying that right. Um, but yeah, I don't know a ton about the history other than what the movie presents. Even I have looked up certain things, which I will get later here into the review. Um, but yeah, I remember liking this fine. It's not one I watch very often, but it definitely is a an inspirational type teacher film um, overall. So I won't waste any time. But let's get into my review for Freedom Riders. So the story in Freedom Riders is Erin Gruwell is a teacher. She's a new teacher. I think she originally was supposed to be a lawyer, but then kind of wanted to change professions, so now she's a teacher. We don't exactly see how her change goes from lawyer to teacher necessarily, but she's now a teacher, a new teacher. But she's in a time period where this takes place 2 years after the LA riots involving the brutality, police brutality performed on Rodney King, who was intoxicated. He was running from police. When the police got him, they beat him, they tased him. I think they used like a billy club on him to the point where he was severely injured. I think a broken leg. I remember reading a little bit. Um, before I go any further, again, if I get anything historical related, anything that's just historically related wrong, feel free to correct me. I'm doing the best I can with what the movie presents and what I could at least research a little bit on. But yeah, forgive me all if I don't know all the history, um, or I get things mixed up because history can be interpreted in different ways or how people think or I don't know. I don't know if that makes any sense. I'm sorry. But in any case, those events had caused 63 deaths, over 2,000 people injured, and over more than 12,000 arrested. So the police brutality, the fact that the four officers who beat Rodney King got acquitted, um, you know, enraged people in LA, as well as many other states in states in general, but I think mostly in LA. Um, but yeah, this it was a significant thing where there was more gang violence, more about territory, about race, kind of kind of divided people. Um, I mean, yes, it's it's not an easy one to talk about, and I'm probably not the best to talk about this kind of stuff either. But I'm doing the best I can with what I can fathom. So from the film and based on my own on history, that I've learned, if I hopefully have learned. Um, but yeah, so in any case, Erin Gruwell is in a classroom with a bunch of students, and who basically are either in gangs or just protecting their own territories. It's like a war out in LA that everyone's protecting. They have to fight for it, regardless of what happens. Um, and she takes this teaching methods, including giving out journals to these students, basically have them write something about their past, their present, or their future, what they think, and what just anything they want, so that she can find out more about them and help them learn about each other as a as class, and in a way make them build them to be better people and even a family for family. So, um, but of course, it's not always easy because a lot of the students are kind of you know are stuck in their old ways, but she eventually starts getting their attention and making them understand and having them understand what the life, what it means, from even from a historical standpoint about what even real life gangs are like. Um, and I might go in a little bit of spoileratory for that, but um, suffice to say, that's pretty much the story. Is Aaron Gwell is trying to help teach these kids have a future to go to college or some or better life in general, away from gangs, away from violence, as far away as possible. Yet the teaching system, the administration system at that time, just see them as a lost cause and don't even give her resources. Which enters Imelda Stanton, as Margaret Campbell, as a teacher who doesn't like what Erin's you know Erin Gruwell's doing to her with her class, despite obviously there's change and it's a change for the better, but she's obviously intimidated by it. So she's like her character in Dolores Umbridge. It is it is satisfying to watch. Um, you know, just being all upset about about all the stuff that's happening, all because she's making Erin Growe's a new teacher making change, and she's supposed to be an educator for 30 years, and yet she doesn't. She she's not a good educator. Um, but yeah, so I know I probably went off a tangent a little bit, but after watching it, yeah, it is a good movie. Is it formulaic? Yes, it's definitely formulaic. It does like to play a lot of music as their background, which I know is kind of a staple, but others, um, and even when I heard a lot of the music, I was kind of like, I almost expected like they break out a song or dance number for some reason. I don't know why, but that's my thought anyway. And it did kind of feel annoying, but I mean, this is MTV film, so I guess you got to have something to for with MTV or something like that. I don't know, but I still think it's a good movie. It is again formulaic. I think a lot of it has to do with Hilary Swank as you know, Erin Gruwell. I'm sorry, I had to even look up her name again. I feel bad. Um, but a lot of it is her performance overall as this new teacher who wants to try to make a change. And granted, yes, some could argue this is like the white savior thing, similar like say Dance with Wolves, The Last Mohicans, something like that. But I don't know. I didn't mind it too much. I can see it, but I don't mind it. I mean, regardless. But she really takes the time and effort, and you can see it in her performance to really understand what her character is about. Granted, I don't know if she in, fully encapsulate what Erin Gruwell is, but then again, I don't know a ton about Erin Gruwell, and but what I'm saying is I just see her as Hilary Swank playing a role, not Erin Gruwell as the teacher. So, but I'm not saying she does a bad job or it's just kind of one of those things. The students are great. I think a lot of it is by April Hernandez Castillo, who plays Eva Benitez, who we do have a little bit more dialogue and story behind what, you know, this is in 1994, so it takes place in 1994 about what life has been like for her and her family and her, her group or gang, um, that's, black, Latino, white, you know, all kinds of different races, Asian. So, about, it's about territory, about war, fighting for your own, and all that stuff. And she absolutely hates white people. So, and yet they go to school, but they kind of just sit there and do nothing. Um, Seen that before in other films, but yes, a lot of the performances are really good. Um, and there are true stories involving what Erin Gruwell did for these kids, including taking them on trips, which they're not really allowed to do unless they get certified by the board and whatnot. But she managed to get that through and take him to like the the Museum of Tolerance, learning about the Holocaust, even to the point of getting um, meet. I'm sorry, Meep Geese. I think Meep Geese. I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly, but she's the author of Diary of Anne Frank, and that actually did happen in real life, where she actually got to meet the students who wrote letters to her to understand her story and stuff, and that moment especially is very good. Granted, it what in the movie it's not the real the real author, but still. Um, it's still inspiring to see. So I gotta pause. Sorry. Um, yeah. But in any case, there's great moments like this. There's a great editing moment where she actually reads the journals, and we get to kind of explore uh, montages of each student, their lives, or what it has been like. Granted, the editing can be a bit sloppy and kind of inconsistent, like hard to follow which of the some of the characters, and maybe there's always this act of random acts of violence along the way, but it's still fair enough. It's basically following their stories, as a whole. um, what about other characters? Let's see. Like I said, I think Imelda Stauton as Margaret Campbell is good, though she's not a real character in in real life. But she's more of a composite character to because this is like a character of teachers who just find this new unorthodox way of teaching just you know beneath them, or they think it because Erin Gruwell is a new teacher, and whereas she's supposed to be teaching for 30 years, now she's intimidated by something new that's is making things better for the kids, and yet she thinks it's a threat. Um, and it's not certified. It doesn't go through the usual channels on how to get things approved, and not even for what the kids are supposed to be offered to read. They have a more condensed like children's book of like they were talking about Romeo and Juliet. She pulls out this more condensed version of Romeo and Juliet that's been ripped in shreds. And in some way, you can kind of understand her point because you know for the Romeo and Juliet, I think for those type of books, because if students wreck the books, especially, it is expensive to get get those back at all, and even have new ones because of how students treat the books. So I can kind of understand them, but yeah, the way they're just saying, just give them this children's version of Romeo and Juliet, not the actual Romeo and Juliet story. So that is not a great way of teaching is to basically say, we'll just if they want to learn, if they want to learn, then they better learn. But if they don't, then whatever, just leave them behind. Which goes against the No Child Left Behind thing. But I can't even remember when that was started, but I know that started like later on. Um, I think way after And again, I could get my history wrong there, but what but you can kind of understand. But obviously, she's doesn't seem to really care for the students. And even get other teachers. Like there's one teacher, I don't remember his name, but um, he is a complete a hole. Um, he's he's one of those guys who says, "I'm not being racist or anything, but," and then of course he goes off on a tangent. It is here's like a room where he teaches a bunch of juniors, and there's uh, a female black student in there that are going to be going over the color purple, the book and the movie and stuff like that. And he asked her plainly, asks her plainly, what's your perspective on on the black culture and stuff like that. So it's like, and she's like the only black student in the classroom. So he's, I mean, that's another character you love to hate because this guy is an absolute a hole. And I'm sorry for cursing. I get cursing. I'm trying to blur it out, but yeah, he's not a good teacher at all. He doesn't seem to really care. Then we have Patrick Dempsey. Um, he does fine. I think he's not. I wish he was a little bit more integral to the story, though. He's just kind of there. Um, but I think for what the role was given, I think he does fine. Other than that, there's not a ton I could say about the film. I think it is good. But if you've seen the film so many times, where involving inspirational teacher coach story about how he changed the lives of a group of kids or a team to be than to better themselves, then this isn't going to be very new to you if you haven't seen this before. So, but it is still one that I think will at least will inspire students and make them think, maybe even write journals for themselves to, you know, ex- dig deeper into seeing how they see things, how they're with their lives right now. So I think it is an important film. I think it would be an important film to even have in the classroom, regardless of how it's presented with all the gang violence and stuff. I think it is important. Whether that would be approved, I doubt it, but still, I think it is. I think it is definitely worth a watch. Um, Again, if you can get over the formulaic stuff, but I think I would give this four stars. I think this is a really good movie. It's not one I think I would personally watch often, but it's still a good movie, regardless. So, I hope what I said makes sense. But because, like I said, I did not grow up during the Rodney King thing. I was like roughly 3, 4 years old at that time. So obviously it didn't make much of an impact for me, but I did hear about it at the most. Um, and honestly, there's a lot of other films I think involving you know this type of inspirational story that I think does a little bit better than others. So this one, even for this one, I probably wouldn't say it's up there necessarily, but it's still a really good movie. I will say that. Sorry. But I will give this 4 stars. So, but what are your thoughts on Freedom Riders? What historical things would you like to put in here that I did not include that you think should be have been included? Again, I'm not a history buff. I I do know certain parts of history, but a lot of times it's just kind of goes over me. But I do try to learn as best I can. But regardless, but yeah, what anything historical you want to put in the comments, feel free. Um, if you're a teacher, you have experienced something like this in the classroom. That's from that's a game system I have going on. But in any case, yeah, what are your thoughts on Freedom Riders? And like and subscribe to the channel. Feel free um, to like or dislike the review if you wish. And I'll see you guys in the next review.